Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, meathead. You are a cunt. And when I say cunt, it means a coward. If you guys as a group, or groups that have been here for many years, were more, I hate to use the word manly, but it's the only word I can think of. Gals, forgive me. More manly, you wouldn't be in here. Does everybody, I know English isn't everybody's first language. Does everybody just understand what I just said? If you had a pair, there's a saying in the army, the military, sound off like you had a pair, Peña. Sound off like you had a pair. Does everybody understand what that means?
Yes, sir.
A pair of these. You wouldn't be here. And who do you have to blame? The whole seminar is going to be, in a word, mommy and daddy. 2 words, 3 words, mommy and daddy. I said last seminar, and I took a bunch of shit from it for it, which I don't really care. Why do you think Jocko is so fucking popular? I said it last night, and some of you didn't even know who I was talking about. Because he is one of the few guys on the internet, podcasts, that kind of thing, that acts as, looks like a real man. Now, the definition I get back from the snowflakes, well, what does a real man look like, Mr. Peña? Certainly not you, cunt, if you got to ask me. But I just got an invitation, which I spoke at Oxford. I spoke at University of Pennsylvania. I spoke at the Naval Academy. Some great places. But I just got asked to speak at the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, which I'm told are big fans of mine, and which that'll be a no-holds-bar type talk. Of course, all my talks are no-holds-bar. No-holds-bar. I wanted to remind myself of this. This was announced 2 or 3 days ago. Payroll, this is America. And when America sneezes, everybody else gets a cold. Does everybody understand that? America, interest rates, everybody else follows. Everybody get that? U.S. payroll gains 266 trounces forecasts. Unemployment rate falls 3.5%, matching half a century low. The unemployment has not been that low for over 50 years. Like or hate Trump, they're the best numbers of our lives on jobs. And they're trying to throw him out of office. Do you realize if he gets impeached, which he is, but if he gets thrown out, do you realize he can run again? Do you understand that? You fucking meatheads don't even understand it. They're already making plans. If he should lose the vote in the Senate, which is probably, nothing's impossible, right? But it's impossible. But if he lost it in the Senate, he'd run again as an independent and win in a landslide. Don't you get it? And virtually nobody on the planet, other than a few meatheads like you, that I train, are taking advantage of this, the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of the world. The greatest transformation of wealth in the history. And most of you haven't participated, not a dime. Because all those podcasts that you listen to, and there's not a man, woman, or child in this room doesn't listen to some fucking moron. We've only had 2 or 3 people in the history of the seminar, 26 and a half years, that when I asked them, before they had podcasts, there was newsletters. 2 of these guys. They didn't know anybody. They never heard of Tony Robbins. They never heard of Think and Grow Rich. They never heard of any of the things that you guys have grown up on. And they're all in the Hall of Fame. So what have you been reading? As they say in this part of the world, shite. When I was coaching the University of Kentucky rugby team last year, they asked me to come in. They were 2-time national champs, but the coach felt, for whatever reason, rightfully in my opinion, that maybe the team was getting a little sloppy or whatever, and they were worried about not repeating, winning the national champ for the 3rd time, University of Kentucky. I came in and I gave my talk, put some cement up their ass, put some lead in their pencil, and they won. They won, I think, 22-19 or something. A few days later, they won the third championships. But I teach and coach and mentor. I'm an old-time coach. For those of you that are old enough to remember Woody Hayes, okay? Arguably one of the great coaches of all time. His last game, I think it was against Vanderbilt. I'm not sure what, but it was a team they should have beat. And a runner got around their left cornerback, as I recall, and was going to score a touchdown. And Woody's standing with clipboards in those days, with his headset, clipboards, and the kids running around here. He took his headset off, threw it on the ground, to his clipboard on the ground, and tackled him himself. He knew when he tackled that boy, his career was over. But to let a fucking skinny running back from Vanderbilt, of all schools, score on the mighty Ohio State, he would rather end his fucking career. There's nobody in this room that's got that kind of gumption. He knew he was chastised. He lost his pension. His world was over. There's some things worth dying for. He didn't physically die. But one of the questions on the super success test, and I'll paraphrase it, if somebody came in and spit in your mother's face, might be your girlfriend's face, I forget which, what would you do? There's 3 alternative answers. There's only one right answer. But 96, is it 96%, DJ? 97% of you answered, I would ascertain where he was in his state of mind. Now, what in the fuck does that have to do with the guy spitting in your mom's face because he had a bad day? 97%. Instead of, I'd pick something up, a brick, a board, and I'd beat him to death. I'd get 15 years and I'd get off in 3. The world is fucked. And I have no seminars scheduled for next year except this one day. These are where the people, if you can see the dots, they didn't come out as clearly as I wanted. These are the dots of the people, the roughly 1,000 people that are coming to see me January 18th, where they live. And I'm giving that seminar because I might not give these anymore. And if you've looked at my calendar, I've given a seminar every fucking month. Some seminars I've given 2. I need these like I need AIDS. I certainly don't need the fucking money. We have people selling eats for 45 to 50,000 pounds each on the secondary market. For those of you that understand or don't understand, inelastic, the demand is inelastic. There is no limit to what moron meatheads like you will pay to come here. Although some of you in this room saved to come here, Allah be with you. We've had people come to this seminar that didn't have a way home. They couldn't afford the ticket home. Some of you just wrote, they still write checks? I don't know. There's still such a thing as a checkbook? Okay, some of you just wrote a check. I have not carried cash, credit cards, or check in 30 years. Sally gives me 20 pounds when we're in London in case I get lost. She gives me only $20 in New York. She should give me more money when I'm in New York, but she doesn't. Albert Einstein, when he was at Princeton, they used to put cellophane tape, a nickel, behind his coat collar here, because that's how much the phone call cost in those days, a nickel, because he didn't know how to get home. Albert Einstein. I'm not trying to equate that I'm Albert Einstein, but in this fucking industry, I am motherfucking Albert Einstein. The kind of hurt that we're going to put on you this week is the hurt that alters. The hurt that alters. Last night, you saw one of my favorite films. We're going to get to the founder in a minute. But success leaves clues. All the mentees, successful mentees that you're going to hear, between 10 and 14 of them this week, depending on how you go. Oh, by the way, I haven't got around to your homework yet, but your homework I read at lunchtime. I don't have lunch with you. I'm not here. By the way, this is not a networking butt-fuck deal. I mean, like normal. You are banned from contacting each other once you leave here. If I find out that you contact each other, you're out of the program. This is the antithesis of what you've gone to before. I tell the young kids, don't talk to the old guys. Because lack of success rubs off. That's why you are where you are, because of your families. A couple of you have got some reasonably successful, by normal standards, parents. And there's a method to my madness in the questions that you filled out. What's the highest performance thing you've ever done? What's the highest performance thing your parents have ever done? Siblings. Some of you say 0, 0, 0. Some of you say coming to this event. Some of you say coming up with the money to come to this event. Because you were raised, for the most part, low standards. Low standards equates to low self-esteem. Low self-esteem equates to lack of self-confidence. And I can go on from there. But if you like me at the end of the seminar, I did something wrong. I'm not here for you to like me. I'm here for you to produce results. All I see, I don't see color or gender. All I see is dollar signs, pound signs, euro signs for my end selfish goal. To be I am the greatest of all time by several hundred billion already, but I want to be a trillion. I've added $1 trillion to the economy of the planet before I hang it up. And I'm 220 some billion short. But that's all I see. And for those of you that I've shared some words with already, and if I don't seem friendly, it's because I'm not. And I'm not going out of my way not to be friendly, because I don't give a fuck if you die today. There is no upsell. There's nothing. I got 2 emails. I won't say I get these every day. But almost every day, almost every single day, somebody made £1 million or $1 million, which is dog shit. But to them, it's a big fucking deal. I would like you to know that I closed my first deal in such and such, in a place in Europe that you're not supposed to be able to do QLA. 2 weeks ago, I got an email from the same guy. His wife was tearful, afraid that it wouldn't close. Now, how supportive is that? If the bitch is going to cry, let her cry in the fucking closet. Those tears and that sadness rubs off. But the kid still closed it. And if you could see the picture, you know who I'm talking about. If you could see what he looks like, you'd say, well, fuck. If that fucking worm can do it, anybody can do it. Another email. How do people overcome their limiting beliefs? And could it really take as long as a year? I joined the army, I'm still a cunt. I joined Toastmasters, I'm still a cunt. I plotted how to make 150 grand, I did, and I'm still a cunt. And he goes on, we gotta send him you're a cunt. I say things that people don't even dare to think. If somebody had talked to you the way I'm going to talked to you and treated you the way I'm going to talk to you and treat you this week, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. Okay, let's start with Barron Trump. What are the takeaways of looking at how Barron Trump was raised? By the way, our children were raised similar to Barron Trump.
He models himself after Del.
Well, that's, and as our children model themselves after me. Okay, what else about Barron?
Protective environment from influence.
Just imagine if you had been raised that way. Hard, well, and I told you about the third richest person in India that I happen to know. And he lived in a different world. As does Barron Trump live in a different world. As do the other children of Mr. Trump's. What else about Barron?
Doesn't wear sweats. Wears suits. Dresses well.
Yeah.
You dress well.
Our sons have been dressing up since they're 2-3 years old. You can't overdo it. And our kids hate formal functions. Because they've been doing this a long time. Our daughter's 33, our oldest son's 38. They've been dressing up a long time. They also don't like tennis anymore. We had tennis. I tore the tennis court out. They're not going to play. I'll rip it down. I had them out there playing tennis in the fucking snow and blizzard. I used to import tennis pros from Edinburgh and Aberdeen. They had to hit 1,000 tennis balls a day. And the machines that, fire those balls, you can do it at 15 miles an hour, 20, 80, 90 miles an hour. I mean, it's, But golf, we built a golf course, they still like golf. I guess there's some things that you can't beat out of them. What else about Barron?
His mother actually skin conditioned him with caviar and wine.
You eat
So
like
that's
rich
setting
people.
a standard. It's setting a standard that you can't beat.
Yeah.
He's a throwback to how they raised royals in the old days, or even some in current day. As you know, our butlers served the royal family at a time in their careers, and they have not stories, it's just true life. Okay, you also saw the backward bike, right?
Yeah.
How many engineers do we have in the room? It'll be hard for you. I'm going to say, if you're Asian, it's hard for you, QLA. If you're an engineer, it's hard for you, QLA. If you're a medical doctor, it's hard for you, Doc. An Asian medical doctor, fucking forget about it. I mean, better that you... Where's my gun? Where the fuck's it? Oh. If you're a multi-degreed person, QLA is hard for you. If you're an accountant, a lawyer, QLA is hard for you. Because you learn data and through sequential fact patterns. And there's nothing sequential about QLA. It's the antithesis sequential. And if you know anything about quantum physics, that's the whole point of quantum physics. It makes leaps and bounds with no preparation. And the preparation that you're going to make vis-a-vis when you first accomplish your first deal will not equate. There used to be a saying in the old days, I don't know if it's still around, 10,000 hours and you're an expert. There used to be some horseshit about that. Well, believe me, you're going to be an expert in a lot less than 10,000 hours. And you're going to be rich. By most standards, not by my standards, not by those standards up there, but you're going to be rich. By most standards, if you're worth, $5 or $10 million, you're considered well off. Who the fuck made that standard? None of your families. Bruce Whipple's great, I think there's one more great-grandfather, signed the Declaration of Independence. So he comes from some line of something. But on the other side, Bruce, I'm going to tell everybody, his other grandfather, the same, was a robber, thief, rapist that shipped slaves from West Africa to the colonies. So he's got obviously two distinct sides of his family, and most of us do. My family is not dissimilar. Nobody was signing the Declaration of Independence, I can assure you that. In 1835, they had the Alamo in Texas, and we lived in Texas a long time. Dan Jr. was going to school, and they take all the junior high school, grammar school kids to the Alamo on some day, you know. And it's a big, proud Heritage Day, and so I wasn't there. And he asked the question of the guy that shows you around, and he says, everybody's making out like 1835 was won a long time ago and a big deal. And so the guy's trying to explain it to a little kid, i.e. our son, and he said, we've got furniture. Most of the furniture we have is older than that. And at that time, he said, our house is 400 years old. Actually, we celebrated our 450th anniversary last year. So he has some of the same upbringing that the Trumps had. And notwithstanding there's a reason why the well-to-do kids are sent to the Ivy League schools. There's a reason. Because if you're going to hook up, at least maybe you'll hook up with somebody that's got some IQ. Having just spoke at the University of Pennsylvania, my privilege, alma mater to Trump, alma mater to Elon Musk. Benjamin Franklin was the founder. But my favorite alumni there was Doc Holliday, the dentist, gunfighter, murderer, buddy of Wyatt Earp. He went and graduated from the dental school, University of Pennsylvania. That had some color, although he's on the alumni site, but nobody ever talks about him. In fact, I may have been the first guy to ever mention him in the big hall. What are the takeaways from the backward bike? Other than we've tried it and nobody in this room could do it, I assure you.
Knowledge is not understanding.
Yeah.
That's right, sir. That's absolutely right. And what about the kid being able to do it in much less time? And that's why kids do better.
Neuroplasticity is more evident in youthful kids.
He doesn't have any prejudice either.
Pardon?
He doesn't have prejudice.
No, he doesn't have prejudice, he doesn't have baggage, and he doesn't know that the bike isn't supposed to be driven that way. And that's why it's much easier to teach a kid foreign languages than adults.
The adult has anticipation that he may or may not be able to do it, whereas the kid is just like, let's fucking try this.
Correct.
He's
Correct.
going to work on multiple things at once. The engineer wants to do one thing and the next and the next.
An engineer, the car would never get off the assembly line. The plane would never take off. There's always one more thing to do. Okay, and then the founder, historic Ray Kroc, who I never met. He's one of the few icons that we're going to talk about that I didn't personally meet. The founders of McDonald's. What are the takeaways? Yes, sir.
Persistence and determination is key for success.
Now, there are other gurus that say that, right? Persistence, determination. Some even say focus. I don't know how many say laser beam focus like I do. But they also tell you, or implicit in their work, especially if you buy more of their product, is you can do it, which is a lie. You can't. Meaning a vast majority can't. Everybody that comes to the seminar since we started it 26 and a half years ago, in 1993, is much better off. Some are billionaires, some have created tens of billions, some have created just a few hundred million, which sounds pretty good to most people. But when you bring the guys that have created 400 or 500 million back, they all have the same regret. I could have done so much more. Why didn't you keep your foot? I was saying I have one foot up your ass and I have one foot on your neck. Why didn't you keep beating me more? 100% of them say the same thing. Because when you figure out how easy it is, and it's the only game in town that you need no money. For those of you that have a few shekels, a few bucks, and your cash flow, free cash flow, doesn't quite meet debt service, and you're 50 grand, 100 grand short, you just can write a check. But that's not what the seminar is about. The seminar is when you have no money, like this kid I just read the email from. What else about the founder? Yes, sir.
He was ruthless and he didn't give up until he got what he wanted.
Some of you, if not all of you in this room, have either yourself personally experienced it or a relative personally experienced it where they gave up. They gave up. They don't know how close they were to they go, but they gave up. The seminar is about the antithesis of that, but it's not about giving up. It's about staying the course. And when you listen to Jason Nagy later today, who's one of our current superstars from Adelaide, Australia, when you hear him, and he says it slightly different, he says, holding your nerve. And holding your nerve against all odds. In World War I, the Battle of the Somme, which was the 100-year anniversary, was just recently celebrated a few months ago, or weeks ago. They fought trench warfare. The Germans 50, 60 meters there, and the Allies here. And then there'd be some young lieutenant, as they say in this country, with a swagger stick and a whistle and a pistol. And when he blew the whistle, after he gave him Dutch courage, a little gin, to get your courage, you have to go over the hill, knowing every 1 out of 3 guys over the hill got killed, 1 out of 3 got maimed, and 1 out of 3 made it. And he goes, doot, doot, over the top, lads. Now, we'll just take you 3. One's going to be dead, one's going to be maimed for life, and one's going to luck out. How do you instill the confidence in these 3 meatheads? Training, 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 and confidence in the system works. That's what this program's all about. We know 1 degree above a chimpanzee fucking can do this. And I keep a picture of Forrest up here to remind me. Now, I didn't have the... Now, Forrest is a fictional entity, but I've had people with 80 IQ make hundreds of millions. And I've got a guy with 180 IQ that only made tens of millions. So IQ's got nothing to do with this program. Fortunately for all the fucking meatheads on YouTube. And the people that are in this room. And that have been in this room. Okay, what else about Mr. Kroc? Yes, sir.
Affirmations on his record player?
Mm-hmm. Well, affirmations have been working for athletics for 1,000 years or more. Elway, the famous quarterback for the Denver Broncos, dreamt since he's 6 years old of throwing a touchdown pass in overtime to win the Super Bowl. What he didn't realize is it was going to take him his 3rd Super Bowl because he failed the first 2 times around. And and we've had kids, and I call you all kids because I'm getting old enough to be your father, grandfather. In a couple of cases, I might not be old enough to be your father because we have a couple of ancients in the audience. But affirmations, and the last day, the homework, the last night before the last day, or the penultimate day, as they say here in Britain, when we spend time on affirmations and writing them. And I don't much care for President Obama, but one thing I do have to take my hat off to him vis-a-vis him saying when he was 19, 20 years old, I'm going to be the first black president. When he said that, I mean, he was talking shit. And what you've been taught to do is not talk shit. Muhammad Ali, when he was Cassius Clay, was talking, I'm the greatest, right? Well, most of you don't remember that. But you've been taught just the opposite. Anything else about, yes, sir?
So he was able to take his vision and re-articulate it, wordsmith it, make it evolve until it caught with an audience. He took it from we're going to have stores everywhere to churches where crosses, flags, and arches, and he got it until it resonated with people, and then he got his team going. So he just never stopped re-articulating his vision.
He kept on, the other side of that is he kept on changing the story till somebody bought it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And what you're afraid of, when I say you, I mean generally speaking, you're afraid of, is that you're going to see something and make a fool out of yourself. On that happy note, bye-bye, you two.